All right, Aquarius, let's see what's going on for you guys. We're going to hustle right into the end of March, okay? Let's see what the situation is for you guys. Ten of Cups. When are you guys ever alone, huh? You're like, right? I just want to be alone, but someone's always there. No, I'm just messing with you. What's the situation for my Aquarius at the end of March? Yeah, alone, but not alone, but yet alone. What am I talking about? Why is the Seven of Wands here and the Nine of Wands? These are wands, but these are difficult wands. This is like you kind of avoiding being vulnerable here with somebody. All right? Even though you have feelings. So, the Queen of Cups is at the bottom of the deck. It's telling me you have feelings here for somebody. Really strong ones. You caught them. They're there. They're not going anywhere. As a matter of fact, what you're doing, I think you're going to take a step back to analyze them, these feels. Because the Seven of Wands is telling me you're resisting something or someone. All right? And then the Nine of Wands is telling me all these boundaries that you got. See this crazy ocean going on with these riptides, and this is what's bubbling up underneath you. This is what's going on. And you are here, this little ship, trying to navigate this crap not to hit the rocks. So you're trying to protect yourself. You're like, navigate this way. Oh my God, no, navigate that way. But the currents are taking me here. Yeah, they are. They're taking you to the love bus and you don't want to get on. You're like, no, I'll wait for the next one. Thank you. Sorry, I'm in a funny kind of mood this week. We'll roll with it. But yeah, Seven of Wands is telling me you're definitely deflecting something. We'll see more when we clarify. What's coming in for Aquarius, please? That's too many, Spirit. This is no, too many. But I saw what was going on in that chaos of crazy. Guys, lately I've been just merging words. Just, it's your task to figure out what I'm saying. I'm just kidding. Because tarot's always a mystery, isn't it? Four of Cups and the Six of Wands. You guys, somebody's coming back to vindicate you, validate you, whether this is at work, your job, your boss, or a person you've been dealing with, where, this is like the type of individual that you want to be vindicated by. In other words, if somebody did you dirty or did you wrong, they're now coming back to say, hey. But the problem is there's no longer any love there. It's Four of Cups. It's unrequited love. Or it's still leaving a sour taste in your mouth, right? But because they did come back to vindicate you, validate you, it kind of makes you feel like, I don't know, maybe I should look at this again. But once we start having Mercury go direct, especially in Aries, you're not gonna go that route. You're gonna revert and go towards the new thing that you've been developing the last few months, or the thoughts that you had from last year, right? Because the Nine of Swords is telling me you're having stress and anxiety. Now, this is the second nine I'm looking at. Why is that interesting? Because 6 crazy major planets are going into Aries. Why is that a big deal? How does that affect the collective? Well, Aries rules the first house, and that first house is self-identity, self-values, morals, ethics, how we show up in the world, what we care about, what we want. Where before, when Neptune was in Pisces, we thought about the greater good. We dropped boundaries and borders. We were thinking about the other individual. Now it flips. Now, adding to that, Aries energy, which we're also heading into the last week of March, is Aries season. Mars comes in hard to the sun. We have that Arian energy, which is we put actions behind our feelings and our thoughts and our dreams. Okay? So now not only are we thinking about ourselves, we're putting action behind that. And the nines in Tarot represent self. Okay? So, interesting, right? It's an interesting concept when you use Tarot as a tool. When you got the odd numbers, it's really about ourselves and the reflection of ourselves. And when it is the 2s and the 4s and the 6s, it's about us as a set, us as pairs, you and the other person. All right, a little mini tarot lesson that you didn't ask for, but there it is. Now, let's see what the surprise is this week. The last week of March. So evens is 2, odds is us, when you see those number cards in your reading. Now, 5 of Pentacles in reverse. Okay. 10 of Swords in reverse, and the Knight of Pentacles in reverse. All right, so once upon a time, you felt backstabbed and you felt left out in the cold. All right, and it took you forever and a day to move forward from it. And you did. And you started working towards that thing that you wanted that was new, you. You started scratching the surface. I'm like, you start going like this, and you're like, oh my God, look there. It's the old Aquarius. They can now come to the surface. And you did that. You did that the first quarter of the year. And maybe you were betrayed by the end of last year, beginning of this, right? When it was the year of the snake and the year of the horse, somewhere mid-February, it went forward. You started working on your new life. Now your old life trying to come back because it's Mercury retrograde. But I see it in your cards. This is something you haven't let go of. Ending, betrayal. 5 of Pentacles. You are, though, coming in from out of the cold. Probably because somebody else wants you. And you feel it. And now, here you are with the Knight of Pentacles. You're starting to now pick up the pace and move forward, right? But the 8 of Swords at the bottom of the deck still tells me you feel stuck. It's like you're in jail, but the door is open and you're not walking out. Maybe you're afraid. Maybe you have concerns. I don't know what you're doing. But you're treating something else like a fling. Meanwhile, that thing wants to come in solid. What's the advice here for Aquarius? So what this feels like to me, Aquarius, is, yes, it's similar to last week's reading because energies don't shift that quickly. But now it feels like you're ebbing away from that. You're starting to edge away and starting to go onto that thing that you've been developing. This new you that you've uncovered. It's like coming back out. It's like, when you go out into a gray, like the day is gray and there's so many clouds and it's foggy, but now the fog is lifting. The clouds are moving. The sun is parting and you see the sunlight. That's the vibe you're getting this week. Even though you still have some old energies you got to deal with. Because this betrayal, even though you could be saying, I'm over the person. I'm done with them. That happened to me. You're not done with what happened and how it happened. The action of it. Not so much the person, but the situation. And sometimes that resides with us for a hot minute, Aquarius. And we bury those things. And those things become wounds. And when they're unhealed, we reject new stuff trying to come in. See, look at you. Your advice, 2 of Swords. You see this person in the middle? They got 2 options. So do you. But you have to make a choice. This is free will, obviously. But in your advice, it's saying to you, you got to pick a path. The grass isn't greener on the other side. We don't wait to see which grass is going to bloom and be green. The grass blooms and gets green where we decide to water it. Okay? Because there's a king... No, there's an emperor at the back of the deck. Aries energy or some authority figure in your life, like a boss. Maybe it's an official of some kind, like, police or a judge. That kind of thing. A teacher, a priest, a mentor, a father. Whatever. This is in reverse. This is you rejecting this person or breaking up with this person. Interesting. What's the outcome of the week? All right, sorry I got stuck for a second. There was a lot of thoughts there. The King of Cups and the Devil in reverse. This person, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, honestly, guys, is available for a relationship. They're emotionally mature and ready to rock and roll. The Devil in reverse, you're finally deciding that you're kicking the toxic energy to the curb. You're like, this toxic thing isn't going to work for me. I'm just not going to do it. So you're letting it go. However, this person that is available to you, I think what you're going to end up doing here with this person is you're going to end up having a conversation with them. And you're going to be like, look, I got to put all my cards on the table. I just came out of this. I don't know how I feel. I'm numb inside. I'm trying to deal. I'm trying to process. Give me some time. Give me some space. Whatever it is that you guys are discussing. But you're going to base your relationship based on that truth and honesty. All right, so this is good because this does complete a cycle for you. Because now it feels like, yes, Aquarius, you're going to start to water things specifically where you want to. Interesting. All right, let's start clarifying and see what's going on here. That was the longest, biggest download ever. All right. What's going on here with the Seven of Wands and the Nine of Wands, please? The Empress in reverse. Okay. So this whole situation, when we spoke about earlier, how you have your guard up, your boundaries, you're trying to navigate, you're resisting this relationship, this person, this situation. You're very vulnerable right now and you're just not willing to open up. However, the reason you're doing this, not however, but the reason you're doing this is because you have doubts. You know your worth and your value, but obviously there's things you want to bring into your life, your world, because you got a whole other, 40 years to live. I don't care if you're 60. Maybe you'll make it to 100. Technology is advancing stupid. You really got to see the way technology is advancing, even medical health. Anyway, back to you. You have doubts. This is why you're doing it. So you're still consistently resisting. And I think a lot of it, my opinion, from what I'm feeling here, because I had the longest download before. It was like, I might have to clip the video just because it was so long. It's coming from pain. Look. Resisting, and here, Three of Swords. Over someone from your past. You gave him your everything. So now you're debating if you should just jump ship and go somewhere else. But I think maybe the great debate for you is whether you should be alone or with another person. But this other person isn't passing you by. So, but before they go, hello, whoever this is, the Six of Wands, this person who comes back to vindicate, validate you. But it's tied to unrequited love or something you don't care for. Or they don't care. Maybe it's vice versa, because the cards are energy. All right. The Page of Wands and Strength. Yeah, here we are. This thing that you've been resisting. I think you're holding back from a reconciliation with somebody. Why? Because now I told you, now that Mercury is going to go direct towards the end of the month as we get into Aries season, you get a little curious. You're like, well, I do have an itch. Maybe I should scratch. Let me see what goes down that road. Let me see what happens down that path. But I can see it's about a reconciliation. You definitely weighing those pros and cons. I think you're going to end up texting the other person too, because you can be torn and a little bit of stucky. Oh wow, the first week of April gets very interesting for you, and so the soap opera begins. Just kidding. It's actually good times. Let's see what the Knight of Cups in reverse is. Sometimes I watch these old English TV shows. Some are, Irish. Others are just English, and they're cute and funny. The detective shows. I don't know. They're like a feel-good for me, right? And they use this terminology, which I find so amazing, like any joy. And that's them asking if they've uncovered any good news or any information. So right now that came to my mind with this Knight of Cups in reverse. No joy. Meaning this person isn't coming to communicate with you and you are not going to communicate with them. And this is very much over that situation we spoke about earlier, how you're not letting it go. the thing, the sabotage, the ending, the thing that was like shocking. Um, Perhaps it's not the person, it's the situation. So it's like not really that forthcoming, even though they came back to vindicate you, validate you. One of the two of you is just not going back and engaging, but that you're still clinging on to the situation. Funny thing is, here you are, Five of Pentacles in reverse, finally coming in from out of the cold. Because there is somebody here, Two of Cups, two evens, you, other person, are definitely feeling mutual feelings for one another. You're not alone, whoever this is. Okay? So now here you are needing to make a decision in your advice position. Two of Swords. So those of you who are watching me from Ireland, we don't talk like that here. We say, yo, any news? Oh, that's funny. I love it so much. It really brightens my day, though. Back to you guys. Ace of Swords and Cross. See, that's what the challenge is here. This is why you're struggling to make a choice or decision, and you really need to, because once you do this, especially if this is coming in your advice position, it's like Spirit's trying to signal to you, Aquarius, that once you do this, once this happens, things clear up for you, right? The path is highlighted, it's glowing, and you could see it, and it's going to be something that you're going to be okay with and feel comfortable doing and knowing, right? The challenge here is you having communication. Now, maybe you need to communicate with both those avenues, both those people, both those choices, maybe career, work, whatever that is. Staying, going, leaving, whatever. Having this communication is the challenging thing, right? As soon as you do that, then you'll know exactly what you need to do, right? So this means you having a conversation here, heart to heart, one-on-one. And then when I think you do that, because I think you will do that coming in April, you're going to start realizing that you have other forms of abundance you could work with. All right. So who is this King of Cups? And the Devil in reverse. And you're like, oh, this is refreshing. It's not toxic. Four of Swords, Six of Pentacles. All right. See, yeah, because I had a feeling you were dealing with two people, a lot of you. Or, you know, one's in your head and one you're dealing with. Here's your King of Cups, but here's your King of Fire. And behind it is the Ten of Swords, the ending and the betrayal, right? Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. You do have wish fulfillment here for somebody. And it is mutual, whoever you're thinking about. But with this Devil here in reverse, finally it allows you to heal that Ten of Swords we were talking about. It lets you heal that inner wound, right? But it looks like you might be breadcrumbing somebody here because you are healing. You are in the middle of processing something. So you're like giving a little bit to this one person or situation. I think you're trying to have like a placeholder for it until you do heal. But I think you really should talk to this person. Okay? Which I suspect you will, because you have Ace of Swords at the bottom of the deck. So let me see what we're going to talk about for love in the extended. Okay. What's going on here, please, Spirit? Yeah, I mean, to me, it was pretty obvious. If you need more tips and advice, here it is. Release your ex. That's that wound we were speaking about, right? This Ten of Swords, you're still holding on to the pain of it, all right? Not even the person, the thing, right? But I think towards the end of the week, you realize some shit is just toxic. And then you also realize what I'm telling you is basically you got a wound, you got to heal. The second you do, and you release the sex. But we'll see more in the extended. Help healing family issues. Again, it goes right back to those wounds we were talking about. because this person that you could be had a life with before and you're ending it and going into a new life, it could be perhaps you are following certain patterns the way you were raised or you grew up, whatever that is. That's also healing those issues. Now let's get one card from Angels of Abundance for health and wealth. Let's see what's going on there. A nice little tip for you guys. Two. Let's see what it wants to say. Sever vows of poverty. Dear one, there's no need to suffer or sacrifice. Hold the intention of undoing any vows of poverty or self-denial that you may have made consciously or unconsciously in your lifetime. As you do so, all effects of those vows will be undone for everyone involved in all directions of all time. Interesting. Healing, 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 healing. This is what we're doing this week. Abundance mindset. Okay, so there's a common theme here. If you think of your abundance as something that happens in the future, then it'll always be one day away from you. See, feel, think, and speak of abundance as something you already have in the present moment. And that's exactly what you're going to experience. All right. It's a mindset. Let's pivot. All right, guys. That's what I got for you this week. Everybody, I'll see you over at Extended. Everyone else, I'll see you next week.